For decades, there's been a stretch of California highway where drivers vanish into a wall of white so thick, you can't see the hood of your car. We're talking about Tule fog, and it's killed more people on California roads than almost any other weather phenomenon. But something strange is happening. After a century of choking the Central Valley every winter, the fog is disappearing. Scientists are trying to figure out why, and what they're discovering might change everything we know about California's climate. The Central Valley has always been known for its fog, but Tule fog is different. This isn't the romantic mist you see rolling over San Francisco's Golden Gate Bridge. Tule fog forms in the valley during winter months, and it can reduce visibility to less than 10 feet. According to the California Department of Transportation, Tule fog causes around 2,000 accidents every year, with dozens of fatalities. In 2007, there was a massive pileup on Highway 99 near Fresno that involved over 100 vehicles and killed 2 people. Drivers described it as hitting a white wall at 65 miles per hour. The fog gets its name from the Tule grass that grows in the valley's marshlands. It forms when cold air gets trapped under warmer air, a condition called an inversion layer. The Central Valley is basically a giant bowl surrounded by mountains, so cold, moist air settles at the bottom and has nowhere to go. During winter nights, temperatures drop, water vapor condenses, and by morning, the entire valley can be blanketed in fog so dense it's like driving through milk. Some mornings, the fog doesn't lift until afternoon, if it lifts at all. The physics behind Tule fog are pretty specific. You need a combination of factors: clear skies, light winds, moist soil, and cold temperatures. After a rainstorm passes through, the ground is saturated. As night falls and temperatures drop, that moisture evaporates into the air. Because the valley is surrounded by the Sierra Nevada on one side and the Coast Range on the other, cold air can't escape. It pools at the valley floor. The air becomes saturated and water droplets form. By dawn, you've got fog that can stretch for hundreds of miles from Redding down to Bakersfield. Farmers in the valley have dealt with this for generations. The fog affects everything from harvest schedules to spray operations. You can't pick fruit when you can't see the trees. Old-timers talk about fog so thick in the 1950s and 60s that they'd tie ropes from their houses to their barns just to find their way around the property. School buses would run hours late or not at all. There are stories of entire towns being shut down for days because nobody could safely navigate the streets. But there's an upside too. Certain crops, like grapes and stone fruits, actually need those cold winter hours to produce properly. The fog provides that chill without freezing temperatures that would damage the plants. It's part of the reason California's Central Valley became such a productive agricultural region. Almonds, cherries, peaches, plums, they all benefit from those foggy winter nights. The cold helps the trees go dormant, store energy, and prepare for spring growth. Without enough chill hours, fruit trees get confused. They might bloom too early or not bloom at all. But here's where it gets interesting. Starting around the 1980s, researchers noticed the fog was changing. Dr. Dennis Baldacci at UC Berkeley has been studying this for years. He looked at airport visibility data going back to the 1930s, and what he found was startling. Tule fog has decreased by about 46% since 1980. We're talking about a phenomenon that defined the Central Valley for centuries, and it's fading away within a single generation. The question is why? At first, scientists thought it might be related to drought. California has been cycling through dry periods, and less moisture in the air could mean less fog. But the data doesn't fully support that theory. The fog declined even during wet years. Some of the wettest winters on record had less fog than drier years decades earlier. That told researchers something else was going on. Then researchers started looking at land use changes. The Central Valley has been transformed over the past century. Wetlands were drained, native vegetation was replaced with crops, and irrigation changed how water moves through the landscape. All of that affects local humidity and temperature patterns. In 1900, the valley had extensive wetlands and seasonal lakes. By 1980, most of those were gone, converted to farmland. That changed how moisture moved through the ecosystem. Instead of evaporating naturally from wetlands, Water was being delivered through irrigation systems on schedules that didn't match natural patterns. There's another factor that's harder to ignore: air quality improvements. California cleaned up its act when it comes to pollution, especially particulate matter. The Clean Air Act of 1970 and subsequent state regulations reduced emissions from vehicles, factories, and agriculture. By the 1990s, the Central Valley's air was noticeably cleaner than it had been in decades. But fog needs something to form around: tiny particles in the air that water vapor can cling to. These are called condensation nuclei. Cleaner air might mean fewer particles, which could mean less fog. It sounds counterintuitive, but better air quality might be reducing fog formation. Some studies suggest this could account for up to 30% of the decline. Climate change is also playing a role, though it's complicated. You might think a warming planet would mean less fog, but it's not that simple. The Central Valley is warming, particularly at night. Those cold winter nights that create perfect fog conditions are becoming less common. According to research published in 2018, winter minimum temperatures in the valley have increased by about 1 degree Celsius since 1950. That might not sound like much, but it's enough to disrupt the delicate balance that creates Tule fog. When night temperatures stay a couple degrees warmer, the air doesn't cool enough for fog to form as easily. Wind patterns are changing too. The valley depends on calm conditions for fog to form and persist. If winds pick up, they mix the air and break up the inversion layer. Recent decades have seen slightly windier conditions during winter months, possibly related to shifts in Pacific storm tracks. Even a light breeze can prevent fog from forming or cause it to dissipate faster once the sun comes up. For drivers, fewer foggy days might seem like good news. The California Highway Patrol has reported a decrease in fog-related accidents over the past 2 decades. Highway 99, which runs through the heart of the valley, used to be one of the most dangerous roads in America during winter months. People still remember the 2002 pileup near Coalinga that involved 200 vehicles. Fog that thick turns highways into demolition derbies. Drivers can't see the vehicle in front of them until it's too late to stop. Chain reactions happen fast. With less fog, there's less risk. But the accidents that do happen are still brutal. In 2017, a foggy morning on Highway 99 near Chowchilla resulted in a pileup that injured dozens. Witnesses said the fog came in waves, thick patches alternating with clearer areas. That's almost worse than uniform fog because drivers speed up when they can see, then suddenly hit a wall of white. The California Highway Patrol has tried everything: electronic warning signs, reduced speed limits, fog detection systems. Nothing works as well as drivers simply slowing down and using their low beams. But people don't always listen. Farmers aren't celebrating the fog's decline. Those chill hours the fog provides are essential for many crops. Without enough cold weather, trees don't go fully dormant, and that affects yields. Cherry growers have already reported problems. Some varieties need 800 to 1,000 chill hours below 45 degrees Fahrenheit to produce properly. When they don't get enough, the trees might bloom irregularly, or produce smaller fruit, or skip years entirely. Almonds, which are a massive crop in the Central Valley worth billions of dollars annually, also depend on winter chill. Some farmers are experimenting with low-chill varieties, but that's not a perfect solution. The varieties that need winter cold are often the ones that taste best and fetch the highest prices. There's also the water issue. Fog contributes moisture to the ecosystem in ways that aren't immediately obvious. It reduces evaporation from soil and plants. It provides drinking water for wildlife. Some native plants have adapted to collect moisture directly from fog. Redwood trees on the coast do this famously, but valley oaks and other native species benefit too. If the fog disappears, those ecosystems have to adapt or die. Researchers are still trying to calculate how much water the Central Valley loses when fog decreases, but early estimates suggest it could be millions of acre-feet over several decades. That's water that doesn't have to be pumped or diverted, it just shows up naturally. The disappearing fog is also changing the valley's identity. For people who grew up there, Tule fog is part of life. You learn to drive in it, you plan your day around it, you know which roads to avoid when it rolls in. Longtime residents talk about the fog with a mix of frustration and affection. It's dangerous, sure, but it's also theirs. Watching it fade feels like losing something fundamental about the place. There's a nostalgia for those foggy mornings, as hazardous as they were. Scientists are racing to understand what's happening before the fog disappears entirely. Some researchers are using satellite data to track fog patterns across the entire valley. Others are setting up ground stations to measure temperature, humidity, and particle concentrations in real time. The goal is to build better models that can predict how the fog will change in coming decades. If we understand why it's declining, we might be able to predict what comes next. Will it continue disappearing? Will it stabilize at some lower level? Could it come back if conditions change? There's also the question of whether other regions are seeing similar changes. Fog is a global phenomenon, but it's poorly studied compared to rain or snow. Some areas report increases in fog, others report decreases. Understanding why Tule fog is declining might help scientists predict fog changes in other agricultural regions around the world. That has implications for farming, transportation, and water resources everywhere. One thing is clear: the Central Valley is entering a new era. The fog that defined this region for thousands of years is retreating. Whether that's entirely a loss or partly a gain depends on who you ask. For drivers, it means safer roads. For farmers, it means adapting to new growing conditions. For the ecosystem, it means changes we're only beginning to understand. Some species will benefit, others will struggle. The valley has always been a landscape in flux, shaped by human activity and natural forces. The fog's retreat is just the latest chapter in that story. The Tule fog isn't gone yet. There are still mornings when the valley disappears under a blanket of white, when you can hear cars on the highway but can't see them, when the world shrinks to a few feet in every direction. But those days are becoming rarer. The twilight zone is clearing, and California is watching to see what takes its place. Maybe future generations will only know Tule fog from old photographs and stories their grandparents tell. Or maybe conditions will shift again, and the fog will return. Climate rarely moves in straight lines. So here's my question for you. If you live in the Central Valley or have driven through it, what's your craziest Tule fog story? Drop it in the comments. And if you want to learn more about how California's climate is changing, hit that subscribe button. We've got more stories coming about the weird, surprising ways the Golden State is adapting to a warming world.